This land was made for you and me. As I went walking the crooked of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled and followed my footsteps. Songs of the diamond desert were all around me. Our voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. When the sun came shining, and the cloud was rolling, and the wind was waving, and the dust clouds rolling, our voice was chanting as the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. One more time. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, to the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
Good morning and welcome to our service, July 18th. We are just getting through this beautiful summer that has caused a little bit of challenge for a lot of us. And so I am glad that you have made your way here through the dampness and the sorting out of things in your households and trying to stay dry and safe. Each of us travels a little bit in the summer. Some of us travel in our memories to vacations past, and some of us have plans for this next month and a half or so that we can enjoy our beautiful state. As we do travel, each of us becomes more of a transcendentalist, and you are going to hear a little bit more about that today. We welcome here at this Universalist Unitarian Church of Farmington people of all shapes, sizes, beliefs, and other descriptions, including our small children that must be very happy outside because we don't hear them right now. And we look forward to a time when we can unmask and also invite our children back up into our service. In the meantime, Natalie Daggett's and others are working with them and having a summer program. You might want to check out the new plantings in their canoe outside of Adams Hall after the service today. If this is your first time, we especially welcome you. If you would kindly sign the guest book in the back so that we can send you emails and the next magnet, which is a summer magnet, and it will give you the upcoming services and some of the ongoing activities that happen in our congregation. The music that Diana chooses isn't random. She does a lot of research. And the piece that I loved from the very beginning when I came here 8.5 years ago was that it was almost like she could read my mind and my heart together. I would give her a topic, and then she would take us to the water lilies. If you would join me in reading responsively for the chalice lighting. We stand at the edge of summer. The last burst of spring blossoms, lavender and white and deep pink banks of rhododendron are giving way to summer peonies and now to the roses. O earth of life, O promise, gradually becoming fulfillment. May all people find a lightening of burdens with the brightening of the sky as reflected by a chalice flame. A Unitarian Universalist community looks beyond its own walls to spread justice and compassion. May your gifts, and know that your gifts, continue to soften the edges of those in need and spread the message of affirmation and love. And we are grateful for your contributions. This week, we were actually able to help 2 homeless individuals
that were in great
that
need
were in
by
great
giving them
need
some
by giving
food
them some
and
food
a little
and
bit of
a little
money
bit
and
of money
also
and
some
also
men's
some
clothing.
men's clothing. If you would think back to your week and reflect on the ups and the downs, some joys and some sorrows. And if you have a joy or sorrow that you would like to share, and you haven't texted me yet, you would be able to also share it from where you're seated. We have a joy from Liz Knight. Yesterday, a group of us, I think maybe about which all of you, of course, know his real name is Grogu. But other people in the crowd were very happy to see Baby Yoda standing there with us or moving around. But all the joys that we shared yesterday and all the concerns that you share with one another during our time before and after service, they become a part of our community. Your joy is multiplied in its sharing. Your sorrow can be lightened in its sharing. The stories that we share, we weave together to strengthen this community as we care for one another. If you would please join me in a few moments of a gift of silence. And I would encourage you to close your eyes and take this calm breath of time as a resource for you to carry forward. These days are filled with information from family and friends. These days are filled with color and sometimes too much rain and sometimes just enough breeze. These are the days that have been gifted to us, each one unique and different. We enter into fully receiving and giving as we can and as we may. In our silence, may those things that you are filled with gratitude about become a part of your present moment. May all sentient beings be well and enjoy the root of happiness, free from suffering and the root of suffering. May they not be separated from the joy beyond sorrow. May they dwell in spacious equanimity, free from craving and free from fear and free from ignorance. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out,
I breathe
I
out
breathe out
love.
love.
When I
When
breathe
I breathe
in,
in,
I
I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. So again, Diana chose the perfect piece to move into transcendentalism. So I was looking in the hymnal, because I'm not as well trained in music, but in that piece you could hear very distinctive, intentional pauses. And that is what we can do in our lives, take a very distinct and intentional pause and almost take a mental snapshot of what's going on in a particular time and place in our lives. It may be in your yard, it may be when you're on a family trip or floating down the river, it may be when you're standing in line in the grocery store and you know what a blessing it is to be able-bodied enough to wait in that line. And so all of these rests can be viewed as little snapshots in your life. And I thought that that piece of music just really emphasized that. So thanks, Diana. And the pause and the rest looks like this. Did you see it? Yes. Okay, good. Can you imagine going to a book sale and getting almost all of the works of Ralph Waldo Emerson for $1.25? Isn't that amazing? Thank you, John Corrado. He gave this book to me when he retired. So I was just very pleased. And it's so nice that it's kind of yellowed around the edges, so it looked like it's a first edition, but it's not really. 2 readings from Self-Reliance. A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds, adored by little statesmen and philosophers and divines. With consistency, a great soul has simply nothing to do. We may as well concern ourselves with our shadows on the wall. Speak what you think now to hard words, and tomorrow speak what tomorrow thinks in hard words again, though it contradict everything you said today. So you shall be sure to be misunderstood. It is so bad then to be misunderstood. All the great Socrates and Jesus and Luther and Copernicus and Galileo and Newton and every pure and wise spirit that ever took flesh was understood and misunderstood. So the second one is humans are timid and apologetic. They no longer stand upright, and they dare not to think, I am and I think. But they go on and quote some sage or saint, like Ralph Waldo Emerson. They are ashamed before the blade of grass or the blowing rose. Those roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are for what they are. They exist with God today. There is no time to them. There is simply the rose. It is perfect in every moment of its existence. Before a leaf bud has burst, its whole life acts in the full-blown flower. There is no more. In the leafless root, there is no less. Its nature is satisfied, and it satisfies nature in all moments alike. But humans postpone and remember, and we do not live in the present, but we put a reverted eye and lament the past, or heedless of the riches that surround us, stand on tiptoe to foresee the future. We cannot be happy and strong until we too live with nature in the present, above time. He and I share a birthday. So exciting. So I would like to also explain to you a little bit about what the idea of God was for transcendentalists. Very different than anything had ever appeared before in denominational thought or in American theology. The transcendentalist used common language to refer to God. Yes, Father, wrote Margaret Fuller. The Lord thy God, wrote Theodore Parker. But the main characteristic of the God to which they referred to was a oneness and an indwellingness, a non-judgmentalness known to their Unitarian co-religious people who continued to worship a traditional father. Emerson again wrote, "Within each person is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty to which every part and particle is equally related and referred to as the eternal one." Transcendentalism focuses on an original expression from the inside out because each of us possesses a spark of divinity. And because you receive this impulse of the highest experiences through one's own smell, taste, thought, touch, etc., every individual is equally open to it. And it does not need a mediator of any religious dogma or institution. Ralph Waldo Emerson's self-reliance, Henry David Thoreau on civil disobedience, Walden's Pond, and Walt Whitman's on Leaves of Grass are but a few of the foundational works of transcendentalism. I don't think they're required anymore, but maybe the homeschoolers are bringing them forward. The ideas are expressed in fully individual and changing ways, and they brought generations to use these books as handbooks for nonconformity and reliance on the self. And the changes along the way would be encouraged from Walt Whitman's words. "Do I contradict myself?" he said, echoing Emerson. "Very well, then I contradict myself, because I am large. I contain multitudes." Think of yourself as containing multitudes. And yes, beginning with transcendentalism in the movement in 1836 and those forerunners of individual thought, study, creativity, for us as Unitarian Universalists, it's an appropriate beginning to look at the strength and the power of that prefix that I love. Trans, on or to the other side, to infinity and beyond, across. For example, transatlantic, beyond. The transcendentalists did not set out to create a movement, but they were responding to the state of institutionalized dogma and the religious and cultural movements of the time that had become stale and irrelevant for them. Their voices moved to spontaneous vocal proclamations. They printed a paper magazine edited by Margaret Fuller in 1844 called The Dial. Erotic ideologies pushed against the materialism of the business civilization of the day. The cultivation of arts, that's a new word, cultivation, of arts, literature, leisure, and creativity did not prioritize making money. Author Perry Miller described the transcendentalists as children of an atmosphere in which they breathed rather than acquired ideas, and were not at all proponents of any systematic logic. So just by breathing, they had ideas. This atmosphere has been repeated periodically as the pendulum swings, responds to different things in history, and spiritually moves back, and then capitalism temperament throughout history moves again, and on it goes. So to use these concepts of experiences or intuiting beliefs for oneself before sharing ideologies with others is a perfect segue to our next example of trans prefix for today. If we accept that transcendentalism did not transform American life, but it did change individual American lives. Then we move on through the quotes of Henry David Thoreau. If a plant cannot live according to its nature, it dies, and so does a person. The only obligation which I have a right to assume is to do at any time what I think is right. Hopefully, occasionally, that's to yield for the yield signs and stop for the stop signs. Trans prefix, yes. Transgender. Transgender, our expression of ourselves moving away from binary, just two, as either man or woman, as prescribed by a physician at birth, or prescribed by society or cultural or family pressure to a wider description, for some as transgender. This loosely would mean that a person's description of themselves moves from binary, only two choices, to such things as non-binary, gender fluid, the use of various pronouns including they, we, them, when referring to themselves. For many of us, this has been a process, and it has caused some confusion for a few of us. We only will have to begin to introduce these concepts around transgender today, but if we want additional understanding, all we have to do is talk to a middle school or a high school student, because they don't have any confusion and little prejudice or discrimination around transgender and binary and fluid. And so seek out a younger person and have a discussion with them. You wonder why we are seeing name tags and signature lines on email and in business correspondence with a list of pronouns: he, him, his, she, her, his, hers, or they, them, theirs. This simple additional add-on to our salutations and name tags allows all genders to feel comfortable and accepted in their description of themselves. This normalizes the various descriptions, actually shows respect of one another, and does not put people in a place of feeling discriminated, ostracized, facing social stigma or harassment, and feeling outside of all of us and all other people because they are in the unknown land. Despite those risks, the goal of being open about one's own gender identity and living a life that feels truly authentic, just as our transcendentalist philosophy has encouraged, can be life-affirming and even life-saving in our decisions. Transgender people are people whose gender identity might be different than the gender they were brought to at birth. And it is also an openness and an invitation for us to see what we can do to just do that first principle, affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of each person. It's a small thing for everyone to do. And as we move into trans-Christian, some people refer to trans-Christian as a Christian who is transgender. For me, in my vocabulary and understanding, this is what I use trans-Christian about. It allows us to hold the teachings of Christianity as foundational, but still explore and integrate beliefs from other world religion teachings. Christians all over the world have been gently exposed to Buddhism and Hindu teachings through their yoga classes, and the Jewish Kabbalah and Yiddish stories that have brought rich prophetic teachings to them. Almost Zen Christianity is available when it's approachable and applicable in our daily lives. For me, using the prefix trans before Christian, after whoever I'm talking about kind of looks cross-eyed or does, what it means to me is that you can hold the teachings of both Jesus and Buddha and more in tandem. It also is a proclamation that you have an openness for future teachings from other world religions. And so in the conversations that I have with my fundamentalist, conservative Christian friends, and I do have them, and we have dinners together and everything, they are usually too cautious to talk to me about religion, but when they are, I say that I'm trans-Christian, and that I'm Christian and beyond. And if we're lucky enough, and most often we're not because they want a different response, we can compare notes on other things, such as challenging the dates for the beginning of Earth, 6000 BCE versus 4.54 billion years, based on the geological record. But we try to remember that respecting other people's beliefs sometimes are couched in metaphor and story, and allow that to be heard respectfully. The Metropolitan Christian Church, have any of you heard of the MCC Church? It's one example, in my opinion, of a trans-Christian church. This Christian church, which believes in the Apostolic Creed, celebrates the Eucharist and Holy Communion, is fully open to the LGBTQ community and offers weddings and more. I consider this openness as an example of moving beyond the dogma of most Christian churches, a moving beyond Christianity with Christian principles, yes, as a foundation to a wide acceptance of its LGBTQ members. A belief that affirms, yes, and promotes the inherent worth and dignity of individuals, and it's an acceptance of all beliefs and thoughts to be expansive rather than closed, and that can change with every experience. And so I move on to look at what trans-Christian has meant for me. Some of you have gone through amazing experiences in your life, and you think, boy, I'm glad I don't believe fill in the blank, and I'm really glad I believe fill in the blank. But now, after I went through this, I'm rethinking fill in the blank. Many of you know that Unitarian Universalism doesn't have all the answers. In fact, what's our unofficial symbol is a question mark. So we don't have the answers, we have the questions. And we question all sacred beliefs that are held in our hearts and our minds and our spirits, and it's a big umbrella. The Unitarians of the mid-1800s knew that when they reached out to nature to process foundational happenings in their own personal beliefs. So the text of the Christian Testament can be fundamental in certain times. The teachings of Jesus, the divine nature of relationship and expressions of love, and how expansive and different that is. Love can be a verb and a noun, and it's definitely in action and changing. So I, as a minister, of course, want to do things right, at least on Sundays. All of you want to be good Unitarian Universalists, and to be a good Unitarian, we know that we keep our minds alive and open, and to be a good Universalist, our hearts alive and open. The Universalist soul can be described as what Dr. Phil refers to as a soft place to fall. The Universalist side allowed me to know in times of tragedy and sadness that there is some kind of big goodness, a large, expansive description of God, knowing that I don't know what that means. It might be an energy of something, and it's indescribable. But it's large enough to hold pain and joy and sorrow and living again. Universalism has been large enough to hold all the questions and then listen to some of our answers, and sometimes put it all together again in some sensible or livable order. So when we die, this is the advice from some of the world religions. The Buddhists say, don't follow the light. Don't follow the white light. Follow the azure blue light. You heard it first here. And your Bardo stages may be far ahead of others on the road to enlightenment. Judaism says, in a way to mourn, you cover the mirrors and you sit in your house and you reflect. Hindus wear an armband, wearing black, and Catholics pray the rosary and build altars. Theology is expansive and trans also. Spirituality, wisdom comes from all of you as you go through the experiences of love and expressing it and losing it and transforming it again. As if there were one answer, no, there isn't. All the folds in the peace crane origami folds belong to us. So today we have moved from transcendentalist to transgender to becoming trans-Christian, because as Unitarian Universalists, we are certainly up to being beyond. So Deepak Chopra gives us this lesson, a practical guide to fulfillment of your dreams, or the law of karma of cause and effect. And so remember, I've said this so many times, maybe it's embedded in some of you now. Remember, for any event, does anybody have an event that they can think of that they feel guilty about from the past? Anybody? Oh, boy. Boy, is this a pure or half asleep congregation? We had 3 hands out of close to 35 to 40 people. Oh, I want to hear those stories later. But for the rest of us, including me, those things that I've been guilty about, and I've expressed them to somebody, and I expressed them not to the Dalai Lama, but to some people that were working closely with him when I went to many conferences that he was leading, is for every event, there is more than one cause. And so if you think you are the lone guilt carrier for one event, you have an ego bigger than this room. And so you can set that down and think about it again. Many causes to each event. But there is only one choice out of the infinity of choices available in every second that we want to create happiness for you as well as those around us. So when you make that choice, Deepak Chopra says, it will result in a form of behavior that is called spontaneous right action, and that's what we're going to end you with today. Spontaneous right action is the right action in this very moment. It's the right response in every situation that happens. It's the action that nourishes you and everyone else who is influenced by that action. Your body even experiences 2 kinds of sensation. One is a sensation of comfort, as if you were preaching barefooted. The other is a sensation of discomfort, and you can feel it in your stomach, in your soul, in your mind. At the moment you consciously make a choice, pay attention to your body and ask your body, if I make this choice, what is going to happen? If your body sends you a message of comfort, that's the right choice. If your body sends you a message of discomfort, that is not an appropriate choice. Only the heart knows the correct answer. So with what I just told you, it might free up your summer calendar a little bit by not going to events that just the thought of them causes discomfort. Follow your heart, follow your body, and listen to it. Emerson says to believe your own thought, to believe that what is true for you in your private heart is true for all people. And that is what all of you Unitarians wanted to hear. That is genius. And you are. so be it. Would you please join to sing hymn 170, and we're going to sing verses 1, 4, and 5. 170. 1, 4, and 5. Yes. Oh, no. Who stole all the hymnals? This is very easy. We are gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives, and then we repeat it. So we're going to be angry, and then we are going to be a land of many colors, and then we are going to be gay and straight together. And thank you, Liz. I didn't realize you didn't have hymnals. You can stand as you're willing and able, or you can remain seated because Diana's going to play for us after. Land of many colors. Straight together. So this week you have a lot of charges and invitations. Remember the rest. Remember that you don't have to go on social media for the whole week because you would only be comparing yourselves to others. And you are unique transcendentalists. Not just this week, but for always. And the other piece is to transform love as you can. From verb to noun, back to verb, always in action, and remember to contradict yourself at least once this week. Namaste.
let's see, there's, I know what to do.
Hey, before you take off, give me a second. Okay. No, I know, but I just wanted to just say something about, the aesthetics committee. The board is struggling a little bit, if you haven't picked up on this, with not having the reaction that Gloria had, which I understand, that empowering a group who's volunteered to do something, to make decisions, but then balancing that with, some other, with kind of the other needs.
Well, I suppose either somebody from the board should be on that committee, or they should report back to the committee before we do anything. Because we were just telling Amy,
There we go.
and me being a newbie, I trusted them. Oh yeah, we talked about that. We're just kind of freshening it up, and no, I'm not. I'm totally on your side. It's just to me, they blame by saying, "Hey, just tell David to do this," and then David comes back with, "I'm not doing anything," and I was like, "Okay, I see where I see. I see." Because really, it was just John and Gloria and I. And so, and they were all like, like that. He was like, "Oh, you don't have to tell this person. You don't have to tell that person." Yeah, we did. Because I was bringing that up in the meetings. They just wanted to do it. So I get it. They've been here long enough. Yeah. Oh, I see that now. Oh, I was gonna say I'm not. I'm fine.
Well, I'm not with, with the people who volunteered to do that feeling, well, then why the hell did I volunteer?
Yep. I think that's what they're
I
feeling. Joe is thinking I'm hoarding these. Sorry, Joe. Probably thinking nobody brought anything back. And here I had them all.
I'm just trying to figure out what happened.
What? Now what?
What's his name? He can't really get
Are you and Chuck working right now?
just remember.
All right. Well, I can do this. I just wanna.
Well, this was good to know. Again, it was delayed because I couldn't figure out what was going on. Hi, Chuck. Thanks for setting everything up.